Hey Taita Olande Pico Zimbabwe Mushe Muri Zimbabwe Lingali Chona Njani Mtogazo Mushe Zimbabwe Mushe. If you're tuning in right now, welcome Muri Zimbabwe. You're tuned in to Live Talk The Connection, brought to you live by Studio 7 Voice of America on Tuesday, September 2021. Muri Zimbabwe Mtogazo Mushe. I'm your host, Mike Hove. Once again, Muri Zimbabwe, if you're tuning in wherever you are in the world. If you're in America, good afternoon. If you're anywhere in Africa, good evening to you. Welcome to The Connection, Muri Zimbabwe, coming to you live from our studios in Washington, D.C. Muri Zimbabwe, Mthakazo Muhle. I'm your host, Mike Hove. Tonight on The Connection, we focus on the increase in coronavirus cases in Zimbabwean schools. We're also going to be focusing on the hashtag Africa Educates Her campaign, a campaign led by the African Union, which focuses on safeguarding girls' education during and post the COVID-19 pandemic. If you're looking to join us, Muri Zimbabwe, you can call us live on air. The number is +1 202 619 2077. The number again, +1 202 619 2077. For those that are streaming this conversation live on our Facebook as we speak, Muri Zimbabwe, to a broadcasting live ku VOA Shona, VOA Ndebele kanye la ku VOA Studio 7. So kindly share the program with your networks. Kuthi akuchone chirongwane uwandu wedu Muri Zimbabwe ukuze sibukele phela uhlelo lwethu labasakhulayo ngobunengi bethu. Lengakhohlwi njalo zilukandaba ukuthi sibukele live ku VOA Ndebele, VOA Studio 7 kanye la ku VOA Shona. So fitizela lapha yokubhala ukuthi like. Press the like button ukuze sibone ukuthi ngempela sisonke like so. Tirithose phano pa chirongwa chedu chebechidiki. Feel free to write the comments in the comment section, and we're going to be reading those comments live on air. Without wasting time with Zimbabwe, let us delve into tonight's discussion. First up, an update on COVID-19. Now, according to the most recent information released by the Ministry of Health and Childcare, Zimbabwe currently has 128,186 confirmed COVID-19 cases, 121,098 recoveries, and 4,569 deaths. To date, 2,962,145 people have taken the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, when we talk about people that are fully vaccinated, that have taken both the first and the second jab, 2,082,043 have taken both the first and the second COVID-19 jab. Now, Muri Zimbabwe, let's delve into tonight's discussion, COVID-19 in Zimbabwean schools. Now, over the weekend, over 430 students were recorded to have contracted COVID-19 since the opening of schools 2 weeks ago. Now, majority of these students are from Matabeleland South, Mashonaland East, Masvingo, and Midlands Province. This has left some teachers, students, and parents worried about their well-being. Now, the Director of Communications under the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, Taunga Ndoro, says all these mentioned stakeholders, abazali, abafundi, ababalisi, varairidzi, vana vechikoro, pamwe nevabereki, uti hai lingakhathazeki azuluganda bahanzi, do not get worried, because government is currently working hard to ensure that schools are a safe COVID-19 environment. But Muri Zimbabwe, let us head over to a conversation between my colleague Blessing Zulu and Mr. Ndoro. They had a telephone conversation over the weekend. Let's hear what Mr. Ndoro had to say about this.
Samunoona vaZulu nyaya iripo ndeyekuti isu sebazi redzidzo, sebazi reprimary nesecondary education, tisu tiri kukwanisa kubata denda recovid rakatenderera mumanharaunda edu.
Ko sei muchidaro?
Nekuti muzvikoro medu tinoshandisa yatinoti very scientific profiling, yatinoti standard guidelines for the prevention and management of COVID-19 in all learning institutions. inenge yakabumbira zvenema-standard operating procedures atinoita ekuti tinoita testing kana munhu achisvika pagedhi tichimuscreena tichiona kuti zvechokwadi uyu munhu mutano. Taona kuti akadaro tinomuti iwe chibva wageza maoko, tomusanitiza, tomupinza muchikoro, asi tinenge chitomutaurira kuti gadzirira yatinoti social distancing, iwe usaswedera padhuze neuyo, usaswedera neapo. Saka isusu zvatinga taita semuzvikoro medu takwanisa kubudirira kubata denda reCovid-19 rabva mumatunhu edu.
Well, Muria Zimbabwe, that was Mr. Taungana Ndoro, the Director of Communications under the Ministry of Primary and Secondary School. He was conversing there with my colleague Blessing Zulu Limzule Ngempela umnumzana uTaungana Ndoro yena uphansi kwe-Ministry of Primary and Secondary School. Echasisa esithi hayi abazali kumele bengakhathazeki. Uyasho ngempela umnumzana Ndoro ukuthi hayi bona njenge-ministry they're working very hard ukubona ukuthi hayi abantwana besikolo kanye lababalisi bavile they are protected from igcikwane le coronavirus. Bayasho ngempela ukuthi they are testing esikolo, bayasho ngempela ukuthi ama sanitizers konke bathi uhulumende wakufaka. So now let's head over to some of the educators that are joining us live via telephone as we speak. We have Sugoluhle Ndlovu, an educator yena la she's based in Zimbabwe. We're going to be hearing her thoughts. Mandlovu, welcome to the program.
Thank you for welcoming me.
Nantu tabolukhone kudwini Mandlovu. We're focusing on what's happening in the schools in Zimbabwe. Siyeza ukuthi just over the weekend, since schools opened over the past 2 weeks, over 430 students have contracted COVID-19. What's happening in school?
Okay, thank you. This is actually an alarming number. For 30 law students of our contracted COVID-19 since opening of schools. That has been 2 weeks and 1 week for the others. Nakhangela kubona baba 430 confirmed. What about those who in rural areas who have not been tested and been confirmed ukuthi they bangabe belawo umkhuhlane lo? So the number can be possibly the confirmed number, but I think it's way above this number. And another thing, schools were not yet ready to open. There was the schools, especially
Your call has been placed on hold. Please wait a moment.
It looks like we just lost Umandlovu. Okay. Siyeza ukuthi our second guest akakabuyi la ukuhlelo uLorraine. So we're going to try get Umandlovu back on the line, whilst we also try get Lorraine on the line. But just to check out a couple of comments, ukuthi abantu bathini kukhasi lethu ele VOA Studio 7 kanye la ku VOA Shona kanye la ku VOA Studio Ndebele, where we're broadcasting right now. Ngiyabona uCharles uyabhala uthi makadiko ikhokho ndrukubona ichirongwa ndri ku Southeastern Cape hangu ayiwathi nokuthenda nekuphinda uchirongwa mkhoma Charles. Feeds are when you're hi, I'm Philip watching you from DRC. We international muri Zimbabwe neku DRC tinosvika seyafika ngempela. Ufebi uyabhala uthi hi, I'm watching you from Johannesburg. Siyabonga kakhulu wonke umuntu ongenayo kuhlelo. So udaba elisilalo kuhlelo muri Zimbabwe chirongwa chatri kuzeya nasi Paris notachi mbotarisaka zviri kuitika muzvikoro mabhonzo awo kakubva kuna vataungana ndoro ve-Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education vachiti aiwa ivo nemaondro avo sehurumende vari kushanda nemazvo kuona kuti chirwere ichi cheCovid-19 chipararire muzvikoro. Asi just over since zvikoro zvavhurwa over 2 weeks ago, tiri kunzwa kuti pane vana vechidiki pamwe nevarairidzi over 430 vati vabatwa nechirwere ichi cheCovid-19. Tanzwa muzvare Ndlovu, Soguluhle Ndlovu murairidzi naye watati naye muchirongwa ndiri kunzwa kuti adzoka. Sugoluhle angachiti aiwa ivo sevarairidzi vari kutya. But let's hear more from Umandlovu. Mandlovu, are you back on the line?
Yes, I'm back on the line.
Right. Usunga Kubega, you were explaining your thoughts on what's happening.
Yes, there are some schools where there is no running water. Running water, there is no sanitizer. So it will be very difficult to combat the spread of that COVID-19. And then it's kind of really, first and foremost, learners and teachers were coming from different areas. And they say out of the country, South Africa, which is also known as the hotspot for COVID, coming from different areas. No testing happened. We just met there. Schools are congested. Many learners, even though they try to they shift, but still learners, there's still congestion. And then learners, they cannot. They cannot be for a long time. They observe that social distancing. It's hard in some Amanema schools. Infrastructure to implement social distancing is not there, so it becomes difficult. And then we are saying again, there was no consultation at all. Some of the things we need a consultation for teachers. Teachers, we are the ones with the learners 24/7, and the consultation from us on preparedness, we should have been consulted. On a daily basis, challenges, maybe even give them solutions on what we can do, but we're not consulted. We were actually forced to open schools when we knew that is why we have been protected, because we knew in our schools where we are going, there is nothing that is put on place for COVID endaweni.
So awusitshele kukhona sokwenziwe nguhulumende na in terms of helping ababalisi kanye labafundi. We're hearing government go on and on and on boasting the city. They've put in all these different measures, and there's some schools where ngempela even testing facilities on campus akhona. Would you not say ukuthi kukhona osokwenziwe nguhulumende to try at least prevent a bad outbreak of COVID-19?
So far on me, I haven't seen anything, especially in rural areas. There is nothing that has been done. Maybe in some selected schools in urban areas, but in rural areas, it's just some of even these learners, they come to school without even a mask. They do not own a mask, not because they don't want, but because they do not own a mask. So the government hasn't done anything for us. Last year, yes, some schools received quite a number of masks, but those masks, we know they went for lockdown, they were using those masks, they are torn and so forth. So these learners, in terms of PPE, they do not have. The teachers, in terms of PPE, they do not have. School health facilities, they cannot cater for COVID cases because the teachers are also scared of contracting the diseases. Some teachers were not even trained on how to handle learners with COVID. So there is, maybe if it was done, I can say maybe at 2%, not what they've been preaching all along.
Says Kangela, the challenges that a lot of students and of course Nina Babalise are facing right now. We know for a while there's been this outbreak or this large outcry of people talking about Zimbabwean transport. Basically, this is also digging into the challenges that you're facing, Babalise, and that students are facing. Could you tell us a little more about that?
Yes, especially for transport, for teachers who are commuting on a daily basis, it's actually a nightmare because there is no transport in towns there, and they have to wake up as early as to queue for the queues, of course, that are there to carry them. You find out there's a teacher who has to board about 2 to 3 combis to get to her workstation, and actually even that teacher late and but chasing a peak hour around 4 is the same story. Queues. Transport is not enough for the teachers. And then we look at our rural teachers. We have to go maybe on a weekly basis to go and see their families who are somewhere else. For them it's actually hard because they have to fork out the foreign currency that we are not even earning. Because for example, a teacher often at Binga to go he has to it's $30 transport fees to get at Binga, and then I can get back almost $60 that he or she has to use for transport. So it's very, very challenging for teachers. It's a very big challenge.
Ngeviki edlule sibone umongameli Emerson Mnangagwa loba ku Twitter ukuthi hayi uhulumende usethengele amanye amabhasi awezupco. And the week before that sizwe inkampani eNRZ labo besithi hayi bazabe besebenza ndawonye labo inkampani yezupco to make sure ukuthi indaba le the problem that you just touched on right now eyokuswelakala kwe-traffic imichova will be fixed. In your opinion kukhona esekutshintshile na over the past week or so?
Alright, akulanto etshintshile sikhangele kobulawa isiporo ukuthi lapho hamba khona isitimela zingayi. Umuntu osuka eNkulumane isitimela iyasigadela ngaphi. Umuntu osuka eNjuve isitimela iyasigadela ngaphi ngoba isiporo sikaze sihamba from eBellevue lapha sihamba size sengena etown sidle ngesama-industry that Plum Tree Railway. Khangele Victoria Falls that passes through Luveve. Amanye amalokishini like oMagwegwe usezamele awalk another distance angayigadela ukuthi ayefika esitimeleni lesiya. Khangele alright going out of town. How this railway connects. Geographically doesn't even help anything because akula stimela suka kobula siLupane and sisiya eNkai akula stimela suka sisiya kububi district anti deep down ethuletho ngala kula stimela esingathwala abantu so uncedo lwankhona vele it's very slim aliphathisi alifinyeleli wonke umuntu ngabe kufakwe kodwa kufinyeleli wonke umuntu.
So now let's delve a little deeper into that, Mandlovu. Aside from the challenges that are coming with the transport, what other challenges are you facing, njengababalisi?
The first challenge that you are facing as teachers, number one, is our wages. They are very low. And it has killed the morale of the teachers. Even if the teachers want to go back to school, go to the class, summer syllabus, immoral level is low. It's very, very low. And two, infrastructure in schools, it has dilapidated. Even if it's a lockdown, there's been a lot of vandalism because our schools have been left idle for a long time, especially rural schools where there was no one. And there was a lot of vandalism. Infrastructure is not even ideal. Among teachers, they face the challenges. Some of their things were stolen during that time. So those are the challenges. Transport challenges. Challenges of our resources. We are not having enough resources to deliver our compressed syllabuses that allow us to corner. And then looking forward to our exams are around the corner. Most learners will find out that at school there are only about 2 textbooks for a class of 45. They have to share. They have to maintain social distance. It's difficult to implement anything there as a teacher. So those are challenges that I think we are facing as teachers.
Kukhona also kwenziwe nguhulumende na to try address some of your grievances. Of course, there's a lot going from indaba PPE through to your wages. Kukhona also that you have seen now where you can say ukuthi uhulumende uyazama la.
Another example, and but mostly what I can say is maybe last year but this year it's silent because right now we're given a directive that we have to look for our own PPEs. I'm looking at a satellite school where the enrollment is less than 150. And then you find out that almost 3/4 of the population of the school children come from those children's parents who are not able to pay fees. And then maybe we say if what are only being paid by organizations, you may be asking about it, but it's not enough to run a school, to buy a stationery, to run the school, to buy a PPE. So it's a big challenge in terms of schools. Some schools should be given PPEs by the government. The government should provide. Those schools cannot afford to buy their own PPEs. That's the reality on the ground.
Now, as we wrap up with you, Lapa Mandlovu, I want to touch on indaba le COVID, spreading within isikolo. Siyabona uhulumende lapha when we talk about indaba le eyokuvaccinate uhlelo lokuhlaba abantu ijekiseni elivikela i-COVID-19. Uhulumende uyasho ukuthi now students who are between the age of 13 and 18 kusho ukuthi high school yonke labo sebengahlatshwa leli jekiseni. Njengabafundi njengababalisi likubona njani? How do you receive uhlelo lolo?
I mean, not personally, I think it's a good move. And as a teacher, I'm vaccinated. How can I interact with someone vaccinated? And so I think it's best also for these learners to be, if it's now as teachers, it's now mandatory and it's now, they're actually forcing us to get vaccinated. So also let the learners that we are interacting with them on a daily basis to get vaccinated, maybe it can reduce our chances of spreading, and then maybe especially fatalities in terms of related with COVID-19.
Now, see, Griba Lingoklo Mandlovu, Bengkul Chuposelama to all the students who are listening right now, to all the parents who are listening right now, and of course all the teachers who are all a little worried ngoba bayabona phela ukuthi inani labafunyenwe bele COVID-19 ezikolo locally khanya ngani liyakhuphuka.
Okay, what I can say right now is that there is nothing that we can do. Now we have to normalize in the present the situation because it is there and it's real. So as an individual, I think now is as an individual, it's your duty to protect yourself and to protect the next person, like in terms of putting on a mask properly every time, sanitizing, and then maintaining social distance. I think that way we can prevent to spread the COVID. And I actually encourage people to get vaccinated.
Well,
as a way of eradicating any chances of spreading the COVID.
Thank you so much for taking time out. Do you have any last words that you'd like to leave before we continue our show?
It's a pleasure. Thank you also for having me on your show.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. Zulugandaba, you were hearing there from Sugolu Ndlovu, an educator based in Zimbabwe. Lapha ubechasisa ngempela umbono wakhe ngalokho kwenzakalayo ezikolo. She was touching on her thoughts as an educator on everything happening in the schools in Zimbabwe. So Zimbabwe silokho siqhubekela phambili ngohlelo lwethu. We hear ukuthi we have our second guest Lorraine ongenayo kuhlelo laye ngumbalisi naye Lorraine, welcome to the program. Lorraine, are you on the line?
Hello.
Hey.
Yes, I am.
Muriseko muzvare ruzvidzo. Thank you so much for taking time out to join us. We had hoped to have you earlier on, so let's try squeeze you in the last couple of minutes. Tichizeo kanyaya trukunzwa kuti muzvikoro COVID-19 inenge kupararira trukunzwa over the 2 weeks. Over 430 students have contracted COVID-19. Saka tukunzewo ka sevarairidzi twinzwa maonrenyu. Saka ndanchikumbura tutangira ipapo mutunzwa maonrenyu.
Thank you very much for having me, Mike. It's a bit tricky because right now, as we stand, we want the kids to be back in school and we want education to proceed because they've lost out on a lot of time if you're only covering their syllabus. But Manje, it was a rushed decision in opening the schools because most of the stakeholders relating to schools, the unions that represent teachers, they were not consulted and their contributions towards the opening of schools were not really considered. And you notice that even though the government says that they were fully prepared, it's not all the schools that had the necessary equipment to enforce the guidelines, the COVID guidelines. So it's putting the kids at risk as well as the educators at risk also.
Now, I noticed something in terms of the trend. When we're talking about these 430 students, a lot of them are in rural areas, Matabeleland South, Midlands, Masvingo, are not urban areas. So I'm a little more curious in terms of what exactly it looks like in these, rural schools. Is there enough PPE equipment? Is there accessible water? What are things looking like in these rural schools as schools opened?
The honest truth of the matter is, in most rural schools, there is lack of water, lack of proper facilities, even toilets, they are not there. And we discovered that the wearing of face masks, especially in rural areas, is not something that is ingrained in most of the students and the people around them. So it's a mountain to climb for us to start telling these kids to come to school, bringing face masks and also sanitizers. It's not an easy thing for them to afford these things. Because we're talking about most schools paying my fees right now with the current economy, 2,000 US, 2,000 RTGS, and you discover that most of these kids in rural areas, they cannot afford to pay the fees. So now and the task is upon these schools to be providing the PPEs, what the government did not provide for all the schools, especially in the rural areas. It is listed, there are some schools in the urban areas that will they are for sure, but the basic schools are in dire need of these things. They will not attend to.
Now, like I said, Lorraine, unfortunately, we don't have much time with you here. So I do want to, just dive right into it as an educator. How do you think such an issue needs to be fixed, or how can it be addressed, especially for rural students? Because government is very insistent on the fact that they're really working hard to make sure that schools are safe.
I remember there was 770 million that was said to have been directed towards the improvement of infrastructure and whatnot in schools. I think it's very necessary for the government to start implementing what they say in terms of resolution of funds towards schools and development of schools and infrastructure, especially provision of safe water, provision of toilets, provision of safe facilities to use. Once we start doing that, then we can move towards an era where we know that these kids are safe in school, especially targeting these issues of COVID. But right now, as things stand, the government needs to start putting things into action by bringing PPEs to these schools in the rural areas, because if they don't do that, the cases will continue to increase like wildfires, just like they're doing right now.
Tichipete edu urukure edu muzvare rozvidzo ndanchikumbira kuti mukande mashoko enyu ekupedzisira nerurimi rwamai pamusoro pezvenyaya tinayo nhasi muchirongwa.
Toda kukurudzira vabereki nevadzidzisi pamwe chete negavhmendi yedu yeZimbabwe kuti vana ava ndevedu tese and tofanira kubatana tiri vatatu kudaro tisi tofanira kunge tichisimudzira vana ava. Saka tikada kuramba tichikakatirana tichidonzerana hapana kwatinosvika. Tisaita nekuti takufanira kuona what's best for the kids. Kana kuri kupa vadzidzisi mari inokwana kuti vaende kubasa kuti vakwanise kunoshanda vachidzidzisa vana ava zvakaringana. Government ichibatawo payo, mubereki achibatawo pake nekuprovida zvinodiwa nemwana kuti akwanise kuenda kuchikoro, nekuti njira is not on their side. Saka akufanira kubatana kwete kuramba change kukakatirana kasingaperi. Tichaita zvine progress.
Well, Lorraine, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us. I wish we could have had you for longer, but I will be reaching out to you again soon so that we can continue on this conversation, because I'd like to hear more on your thoughts on this. But for now, thank you once again for taking time out to be with us.
Thank you so much, Mike, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Well, Muria Zimbabwe, you heard there from Usugo Lushendlovu and Lorraine Ruzvidzo. Both joined us live via telephone. If you're looking to send your feedback, Muria Zimbabwe, you can write your comments in the comments section on our 3 Facebook pages, VOA Studio 7, VOA Shona, and of course, VOA Ndebele. Muria Zimbabwe, Magatera, Chirongwa Chedu Cheve Chidiki, Chirongwa The Connection, Muineni Mike Hove.
I
Shout out to Mr. T Darira, Mr. Ja Signal. They're partnering up with Roots Africa. Bayasho ngempela ukuthi gezani izandla i-COVID-19 ikhona ngempela muri Zimbabwe hanzi COVID-19 iripo geza imawoko gara imuneka sanitizer. Message abakuna T Darira Ja Signal partnering up with Roots Africa. Now, just to check out a couple of comments before we head over to our next guest, we're hoping to get Ucherio Zobo of the platform for community youth and community development, who's going to be joining us. Achituzaoka zvirikuitika kuchipinge munyaya dzedzidzo kumarua uko nasi tikuendera mberi tichitarisa zvirikuitika muzvikoro. We're continuing on the discussion, of course, on the state of education. That's the theme of today's discussion. We're also going to be joined by a couple of representatives of the AU who are running a campaign ejonge ukuthuthukisa abantu abasakhulayo kakhulukazi amankazana that targets uplifting African youth, especially when we talk about education. But Cheryl ukona, I hear Cheryl Zobo is now with us on the line. Thank you for being with us.
Oh, thank you. Koma Mike.
Ngatichizeya kanyaya tinayo nasi muchirongwa tiri kutarisa kanyaya yekuti hanzi muzvikoro kunyanya maruwa chirwere che-COVID-19 chinenge chiri kupararira neuwandu. Just over 2 weeks apo pakavhurwa zvikoro hanzi tichitarisa nhasi over 430 students vati vabatwa ne-COVID-19. Totangira ipapo imi munozvionawo seizvi?
Alright, Mukoma Mike, zvinoitika ndezvekudai so. Kuzvikoro tikatesa zvikoro zviri kumaruwa vana vazhinji vamwe vanofamba distance kubva kumba kuenda kuzvikoro. Saka vana ava pavanobva kudzimba already murodhi vachienda kuchikoro vari kutomikisana nevamwe vana. Saka ipapo vanenge vachitotapudzirana chirwere che-COVID-19. Then tikatarisa futi kune mamwe maschools furniture inenge iri shoma muklasi zvekuti vana vanokwanisa kugara vari 4455. Ofuti manje kana vadaro futi vana vacho vana vanorelaxa vanenge vazopedzisira futi vamwe vasina mamaski hapana social distancing vana vanokwanisa futi kutapudzirana COVID-19. Saka furniture ikange yakawedzera mumaschools vana vakakwanisa kuita social distancing also kuramba vana vachiyeuchidzwa nezve-COVID-19 I think ingarejisika kumaschools.
Tinonzwa zvekare kuti nyaya yetransport ndiyo imwe inenge iri kunetsa pari zvino munyika. Kumaruwa zvakamira sei nekuti tinonzwa vanhu vakawanda especially kunyanya mumadhorobha vachichema vachiti hanzi nyaya yezuko inenge iti haisi kubatsira uyezve iri kuita kuti chirwere che-COVID-19 nacho chipararire nekuti vanhu vari kusangana neuwandu vakangomirira transport.
Okay, kumaruwa nyaya yetransport haisi nyaya iri kunyanya kunetsa zvayo nekuti kumaruwa kuna vakawanda vanoda michovha yekukwira vachienda kumabasa and kune zvimota zvidoko zvatingati zvimalift zvinenge zvichingokwirawo vanhu iende but hakuna nyaya yetransport inonyanya kunetsa zvakanyanya. And ipapapo zvechokwadi kutransport kunopawo kupararira kwechirwere zvakanyanya nekuti tikatarisa malifts anenge achikwira vanhu vanenge vakatsikirirana unlike mubhazi nekuti munenge muine space munenge muine circulation of air. Saka malifts zvechokwadi i-COVID-19 iri nyore kuti vanhu vapararirane.
Saka zvino nyaya iyi nemaondero enyu muzvare Dzobo ingagadziriswa sei kuitira kuti chirwere che-COVID-19 chisaendere chichipararira kunyanya kumaruwa uko?
Chingatodiwa kuitika ndechekuti kana ari mabhazi evazvipo anofanira kuti ange akawanda mabhazi. Then kumaruwa chimwe chacho chinoitika ndechekuti vanhu vanogona kuti kumaruwa vanhu vari ignorant but inenge iri nyaya yekuti vanhu vanenge vasina access to information vanhu vanenge vasina information yakakwana maererano nechirwere ichi. Saka isusu seorganization kubva patanga COVID-19 vanhu vaingoita mashoko akangowanda ezve-COVID-19 vanhu vasingatombonzwisisi kuti COVID-19 chii. Saka seorganization tanga tiri kumboita maprograms ekungoda kungozivisa vanhu kana kuti ekungoda kungoinfoma vanhu kuti vange vaine chokwadi chezvinenge zviri kuitika vange vaine ruzivo hwe-COVID-19 nekuti even i-vaccine chairo vanhu vangasakatodi kubaiwa but izvi nenyaya yekuti tiri kuramba tichitaura nevanhu tichivasenderawo mamessages vanhu vakuita vachitonzwisisawo kuti zvakanakire kubaiwa uye COVID-19 zvinenge zvichirevei kuti vanhu vazvidzivirire.
Let's quickly wrap up our conversation here, Cheryl Tombo Batanyai Nechirungu. Just for the audience that don't understand Shona, could you just summarize everything you said briefly in English, especially focusing on the situation in schools in rural areas?
Okay. I was saying in rural areas, it's very easy for the...
Are you still there? It looks like we've lost Mojare Zobo. Jero, are you still on the line?
Be enough furniture for kids not to sit crowded, but to maintain social distance in preventing the spread of COVID-19. Then in rural areas, people need access to information, as there is a lot of misinformation. So as an organization, we've been informing people and raising awareness on COVID-19 since people do not know or do not have enough information on COVID-19. Looking at the incoming of Zoom calls, I think this will work in reducing the spread of COVID-19, and also it helps in preventing the spread of COVID-19, since in combis or lifts, people are crowded and there is not enough circulation of air. So the government should give us more Zuko buses if they are to help us in transport.
All right. Well, Cheryl Zobo, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us. Unfortunately, there's not enough time in a day for us to continue, and there's so much more that we should talk about. But thank you for this, and we're always going to bring you back on the program. We always appreciate your input.
Okay, thank you so much.
Well, Muria Zimbabwe, you're hearing there from Cheryl Zobo of the Platform for Youth and Community Development, based in Chipingwe, of course, expanding more on what's happening in rural schools. Muria Zimbabwe, Chirongwa The Connection. But now, whilst we continue on the discussion of education in Zimbabwe, VOA correspondent Ezra Chisasbanda recently produced a report on a UK-based Zimbabwean, Sinigiwe Ndlovu, who recently donated computers to help students of Sihola Primary School in Umzingwane district. Let's head over to this report that Ezra did, and when we come back, we continue on the discussion on education.
Mama hlala lapha eSihola Primary School, wena ngubani?
Mina Miss Stabile Mpetsisi. Ngivela koBulawayo. Ngimelele uSinikiwe Abigail Ndlovu, onguye umntwana wesigaba sakoSikola. Onguye njalo owabona kufanele ukuthi adonate ama-computers esikolo lesi ukwenzela ukuthi abantwana labo bengene ku-technology eyiyo esetshenziswa kulezi zisuku. So wabona kufanele.
Wafunda lapha lo
ye uSinikiwe
wafunda la.
uSinikiwe is based Britain. So lokho akwenzileyo into enkulu kakhulu, njengoba efuna ukuthi enze ukuthi labo abantwana abakhulayo kulezi insuku bebe le education ezayo within the technology eyanamhla.
Ngoba kulezi insuku vele okuningi sokumele abantwana bako research khona bobo internet.
Ye ukuthi la nxa befunda njengoba lisazile COVID leyi eke ya disturb ukuthi abantwana be esikolo. Kwatholakala kufuneka ukuthi abantwana bebale bengekhaya bengena ku internet besithi research this and that. Wakubona ukuthi abantwana balapha esikolo sakoSikola they were disadvantaged. Yikho ke esebuye lecebo lokuthi afakise ama-computers lawo ukuze abantwana labo bengasaleli emuva nge-education.
So uyambonga lapho Sinikiwe. Wena yini yakhe?
Mina ngingumngane kaSinikiwe. Yes, we've been friends for quite a long time. Yeah. So ngiyambonga sibili ngumngane wami ngumna wami. Ngiyambonga kakhulu uSinikiwe Ndlovu ngombono lo omkhulu kangaka. Kaba bangaki abakwenzayo lokho. So sithi hayi Sinikiwe siyabonga eNdlovu mama. Akusukuhlakanipha kwakho asizukwazi lwakho kodwa ukhokhelwe nguNkulunkulu ukuthi wenze isenzo esinje.
Well, Muria Zimbabwe, that was Ezra Chisasbanda speaking to Stabile Mpedzisi, who was standing in there for Usnigiwe Ndlovu, who recently donated computers to help young students. But Ezra also reached out to some of these students to hear their thoughts on the computers. And of course, they talk more about how the lockdown affected their studies. So let's head over to these students. And when we come back, we head over to our conversation with the African Union.
Apake labana ngubani bizo abona
Linda Mkhwana
wena
Tozina Chawoza
right lungo grade
7
ukunjani ngelockdown
ade ngowa
channel sensor
ade asifunda online
belifunda online idatha belilayo
sesithola nzima kodwa
abanye bebengelayo nanka amakhompyutha aphiwe li-10 Okay, so kule Wi-Fi la. Yeah. So seliyangena ngathi siku Google likhangela. Lifuna upasa. Lifuna uba yini? Nens wena? Teacher. Why uthanda uba nguteacher?
Funa ukuncedisa abanye nje abamathisha memotisa.
Wena ufuna ukwelapha abantu? Right. Ukhalelwe uyafunda apho form 1.
Boarding.
Akonje isikole sothi boarding wasazi. Esanga. Kobulawayo phandle St James ufuna ukufunda.
Ngiyafunda.
Okay. Wena? Maranatha Harare. So manje kuthiwa liyabhala akanjele zapasa yini? Khathesi lingafundanga?
Ngiyafunda online kwenye lama textbook.
Manje computer lizeza njani?
Computer service research.
Manje computer phela ngathiwa i-test ye-computer lizayibhala njani yona lingajwayelanga. Liyayazi computer? Abanye laba bangakwazi phela nanti kuthiwa li-intelligent lethu. Lagcina phela le 2 years lingafunda libonani lizapasa.
Sizazama.
Anti ngitshele ngiyampromise ake ngitshele balaleli bakhangela kathesi lithi lizapasa njani.
Ngiphuma le 6.
1111. Wena?
6.
Okay. Uanki ezaselenzelani lengaba le 11. Surprise lo yena. All right, what do you see abanye abantwana abalaleli emhlabeni wonke lengathini ko? Onga. Lengathini. So lithabeka kakhulu. Siyabonga nje. Good luck.
Well, Muria Zimbabwe lezwa phela Uncle Ezra intatha lizindaba ye-Studio 7 Ezra Chisasbanda speaking to some of the young people there who are beneficiaries of Sinikiwe Ndlovu's computer donations there. They seem excited. They say these computers are going to go a long way. So shout out to Sinikiwe for that one. But Muria Zimbabwe, the Zimbabwean diaspora aren't the only ones who are helping youth. The African Union is also stepping in, joining us live via Skype to tell us more about the hashtag Africa Educates Her campaign is Anoziva Marindire of the African Union. And of course, we're also joined by Ugandan musician Free, who is part of the campaign. First up, we're joined by Anoziva. Let's hear more from her. Anoziva, welcome to the program.
Welcome. Hello?
Yes, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can.
We are live on air. So let's delve into it, man. We're really excited about this, such an amazing initiative by the African Union. Could you tell us a little more about this program, of course?
Okay, maybe just to briefly put context. So I'm the communications officer for the African Union International Center for Girls and Women's Education in Africa, which is a specialized agency of the African Union, which was created in 2004 and is based in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. So as you know, and I think from the conversations that you were having with the previous speakers that you had on, education is definitely one of the issues that I think has come up and has been hit hardest by COVID-19.
Right.
And within education, there had been pre-existing inequalities that were in existence prior that have been worsened due to COVID-19, in particular girls and women's education. As you know that a lot of schools, I think, across the continent shut down, including Zimbabwe. And even when they are reopening, there are constant disruptions also, where you find that once you reopen, maybe for 2 months, you end up shutting down because the cases have also gone up in the schools, and that has a huge impact on girls' retention and return to school post the COVID-19 pandemic itself. From evidence that we are receiving from the AU member states, you can see that there is an increase in issues of gender-based violence, in issues of pregnancies, and these things, all of these things combined, will definitely affect the return of school for millions of girls across the continent. Within the Zimbabwean context, there was a report that came out, I think, around January or February, that showed that over 1,000 girls had fallen pregnant within a period of a month.
Right.
And so when we started receiving this evidence, we decided, so what can we do as the center that's responsible for girls and women's education? And hence the Africa Educator campaign came to be, which is a rallying call to our AU member states to prioritize education, particularly girls and women's education within the continent. We know that most budgets that were earmarked for other areas, including education, had to be put on the side in favor of health, so that our governments could deal with the pandemic. But also within that mindset or framework, we are saying we still need to prioritize education within that context. So this is a running call to all our AU member states to say prioritize girls' education as you're making your planning and COVID responses. And we've been engaging with AU member states in that regard. But it was also it is also an awareness raising campaign for our young people within the continent, for them to take action that ensures that girls continue learning during COVID and that they return to school post-COVID within their local communities. I think girls' education and education as a whole is not just a government issue, it's also a community issue, a family issue, and even an individual issue. So that's the Africa Educator campaign for you.
Now, speaking of awareness, I'm going to need you to launch this, and then we're also going to bring in Afri to tackle this. I know you guys have gone on an entire campaign, produced music about it, etc. Tell us a little more about that.
As part of the campaign, which we launched, by the way, last year in September on the 20th, we did a call to young African people to submit creative content showcasing the learning experiences of girls during the COVID school lockdowns. And we received an amazing number of pieces in terms of the creative pieces. And we chose a song that was submitted by Afri from Uganda, whom you will be talking to soon. And we also had another artist from Nigeria who had submitted their content. And what we did was we brought the two together, plus Smarty, who's the UNICEF Global Will Ambassador for Burkina Faso, to create a theme song for the Africa Educates campaign, speaking to the issue of girls and women's education, particularly in the context of COVID and ensuring that girls return to school. And then during the 1-year anniversary that we celebrated yesterday, we launched the official video or music video for that song.
Now, I guess let's bring in Afri. Let's hear more from her, the musician behind this amazing song. Afri, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really glad to be here.
No, we're excited. We're excited to have you, man. So such an amazing initiative that you guys have been delving into. Why did you find this necessary for you to be a part of such a cause?
For me, it's always been my vision to tell the truth of the African girl, to tell the truth of the Ugandan girl. And I think that stems from my experience as a Ugandan girl. I have grown up here. I know what it means to speak and have your voice not fully listened to. And so the song it just flowed out of my heart, to be honest. And so it ended up resonating with so many girls globally, and so I'm really grateful for that. That's how I ended up being part of such a cause.
Now, speak to us a little more about that, the motivation behind the song. You briefly touched on the fact that as a Ugandan girl, you feel like you need to represent. Speak to us a little more about that in terms of how, I guess, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected you guys as Ugandan women.
Definitely. Just this last weekend, I traveled to Karamoja. It's in the northern part of Uganda, and Ugandans have been out of school for almost 2 years. But in Karamoja, it's different because they have tradition that affects the girls, female genital mutilation and early marriage. It's part of their tradition. And so the girls have been out of school, and the cases of early marriage and female genital mutilation have greatly increased because these 14-year-old and 15-year-old girls are ready for marriage according to tradition. And so definitely it's like, will they ever get back into school? That's the question everybody's asking. It becomes worse because they're out of school during this period of time. And if they get pregnant, then the cases of them, the chances of them getting back into school are even much more slim.
Now, as we wrap up with you, Afri, what would you like to achieve from this entire campaign?
To be honest, as an artist, what I really want is awareness. And the good thing with art is it creates awareness with entertainment, so it makes it much more palatable to anybody who's listening, to a mass audience too, especially for the young people who we want to reach. So they feel more engaged and they want to be part of such a campaign. And so we want awareness. We want the parents, the teachers, the young people to know that our girls need to be top priority as soon as schools reopen, as soon as it's possible for us to meet again in big numbers. We want our girls to be top priority and to get back into school.
Wow, that's awesome, Afri. Thank you so much for taking time out to be with us. We really appreciate your input. And once again, the work that you're doing is really, really amazing. Congratulations to you. And shout out to you for that, man.
Thank you so much, Mike. My pleasure.
So, Zimbabwe Muhle, let's head back to Anoziva as we wrap up this conversation here. Anoziva, are you still on the line? Are you still there, Anoziva?
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool. So now, in just less than 2 minutes here, let's quickly wrap up here. Where can people find out more information on this campaign? And of course, for those that are looking to be beneficiaries or help or be in assistance or receive assistance, how can they get a hold of you guys?
Okay, so you can link into the campaign by going to www.ciefa, which is CIEFFA.org/Africa Educates Her, which is one word. When you go there are a couple of forms that young people can fill. If you want to take a pledge, if you want to submit creative content, it's still open, you can. You can also check out the song that we released yesterday on YouTube. If you go to African Union CIEFA on YouTube, you'll see the song. And And then also, in case you want to directly engage with the African Union International Center for Girls and Women's Education, maybe you have a story that you want to share, or you want to get some materials in terms of advocating for girls and women's education within your own community or country, you can reach us. You can reach us via email. The email address is au-cfa@africa-union.org.
All right. Well, Anoziva, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us. We really appreciate your input. And just like what I said to Afri, the work that you guys are really doing is amazing. Makoro Kocho, thank you so much. It's really amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Mike. And thank you for inviting us to speak about the campaign.
As always, this is home. You're always welcome back here. So Muria Zimbabwe, you were hearing there from Anoziva Marindire. She is part of the African Union, talking more about a program that they're running that is helping young girls, that is helping abantu abasakhulayo. So Zulugandaba sitshele nombono wenu lingakhohli la kungena kuhlelo, just under 5 minutes left. But you can still call in, +1 202 619 2077 is the number to call. Muria Zimbabwe Mthokozo Muhle, you're tuned into The Connection. Muria Zimbabwe Mthokozo Muhle, I'm your host, Mike Hove.
Zikhipanda po egama nguMawiza, I'm a kwaito artist aka Mr. Ngikhuluma isikhiwa ngevenecule. Guys, COVID-19 abayibiza ngecorona into ekhona. Phambili nge-social distancing, asigezeni izandla always, stay safe, stay home. Last now.
Easy machita, easy.
A message brought to you there by Mr. Nkulumis Kiwange Venekula Umawiza. They're collaborating with IM4 Bulawayo fighting COVID-19. Liamuzwa pela inkuthazoka Mawiza. Mr. Nkulumis Kiwange Venekula uthi COVID-19 is a real Zulugandaba, as we wrap up uhlelo lwethu labasakhulayo, I want to wrap up by highlighting the works of Prudence Chimutua, a young Zimbabwean artist who's using Betta's checks. For those that forgot, Betta's checks, Zimbabwean's old currency, ama billion. She's using that to educate Zimbabweans on what they're calling the new norm. Let us head over to a report done by David Doyle of Reuters.
It might sound like a lot of money, but for many Zimbabweans, the country's old multi-million and multi-billion-dollar banknotes are a reminder of an economy brought to collapse. A time when they lost everything. Prudence Chimutua, however, has found artistic value in Zimbabwe's hyperinflationary legacy. At her studio in the capital Harare, she incorporates the discarded cash into portraits.
A lot of people, when they see these the old banknotes, their reaction most of the time is most people get angry, because a lot of people lost a lot of things, and some other people even lost lots of money because you could just wake up and boom, the $1 million you had in your account is no longer functional.
Over a decade ago, rampant money printing under the late Robert Mugabe obliterated the currency. Hyperinflation resulted in the release of a 100 trillion Zimbabwean dollar note. Savings were wiped out and millions of people pushed into poverty. Zim dollars were abandoned in 2009 and most ended up in the trash. But Chimutua deploys them in her portrayals of the daily lives of women. $50 billion notes become a calabash, $500 million a woman's face mask. The artist hopes her work will help people recover from the trauma of that time.
So for me, I'm trying to bring that element whereby I'm like sort of celebrating for people to see the beauty of these old banknotes. So when someone looks at this artwork, they go like, wow. And then they forget that the pain this thing has caused them.
Chimutua's portraits are on display at the National Gallery of Zimbabwe. It's running a month-long exhibition in a bid to raise awareness amongst the public on issues surrounding the so-called new normal, such as masks and social distancing.
Well, Amuri Zimbabwe, there you are hearing there okwenziwa ngabantu abasakhulayo elizweni using art to educate people on the new norm. We've reached an end of our program at Big Mike 3 on Twitter and Instagram. That's my username if you're looking to catch up with me. Let's meet same time, same place. Pano pachirongwa chedu chevechiki anokoneka inemfaro. Muri Zimbabwe mtoka zomuhle. I go by the name of Mike Hove. Good night. Bye-bye.